Let's take a listen to the second part of my interview with Felipe Sosa Lasavalleta.
We started organizing around a friend of ours who came out as undocumented, and her family's house got raided by immigration. So she got targeted because of her activism, which people would think, well, that will make all the other undocumented kids to run away, right?
Right.
But it did the opposite, right? Because we were angry, and we just felt that was so unfair. And that is our greatest fear, right? Like, oh, because of my actions, then my family's impacted, right? They gave me the bullhorn and said, Felipe, do you want to say something? And then I got it and I said, I'm undocumented. And the Miami Herald was there. And they said, student government president is undocumented. And then it became a whole thing.
What came after that? Immediately after that?
Oh my God, like 50,000 interviews, right?
Okay.
I mean, at that moment, there weren't many dreamers who were yet out about their immigration status. So all the focus, right? Which was a little scary. But at the same time, I realized that as a community, if you're with a group, you're more protected than not, right? So sometimes people think that the easiest way to potentially protect yourself is by staying home, not really joining anything, not creating noise about yourself. But the truth is that the more people know about you, the harder it is to target you. So I was part of a group called Students Working for Equal Rights. At that time, I was already a big time activist, organizing at the Wolfson campus, but then also creating other SWEAR chapters in other community college campuses, and growing that movement myself and obviously many others, right? Because I think that's also really important to tell, right? Movements are not made of one person. So sometimes people see so-and-so up front and they think, oh, that's it. But it's not. It is really everyone. From the person who is bringing the snacks to the person who is writing the agenda, the person who facilitates the meeting, to the person who's speaking to the media, right? Everyone is what makes a movement great.
With that in mind, it makes me think of the adversity, right? As you were advocating for yourself and being an activist in your community, you're already meeting adversity as it is, right? That's okay. You're meeting adversity as it is. But I'm curious if there was a moment in time that you recall where you were speaking to someone who was very clearly against you earning your citizenship as a dreamer, that you had to speak to directly, or maybe someone that you just met in your university that you had a conversation with that was against, because I think that reveals a lot about your convictions, that you can have a conversation with that person and explain your story, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, in activism, you always end up meeting people who are for and against. Sure. There are the people who are absolutely against and you cannot move, right? And then there are the people who you could move, right? That if you share your story, if you share your perspective, you could, right? But in 2000, right around 2009, I mean, again, we were building a movement, right? Students and people, allies, everyone uniting for the DREAM Act. And we found out about a Bangladeshi dreamer who had been detained at the Broward Transitional Center, and she had been already there for a year, and felt like, wow, this could have been me, right? That's how it felt to us. So we started to try to stop her deportation, and eventually did this protest outside the detention center with 500 youth. So we bussed a bunch of undocumented people outside of a detention center, which is a jail for immigrants, and protested the detention center. And we had classrooms, and we put like a yellow tape. We had a campaign called Educational Deportation End. So we got on the desk and we saw the detention center being expanded, right? We laughed, feeling defeated, but also thinking we need to do something drastic, something that requires real sacrifice. And my partner at the time went to a conference and came back inspired by the concept of the Underground Railroad, right? And what the Underground Railroad was, which was going from the south to north, right? And each community basically, essentially supported the journey of the runaway slaves towards freedom, right?
Sure.
My ex came home and said, okay, I have an idea. We're going to walk to Washington, D.C. So I said, okay, that actually makes sense to me. We had no money. So it's not like we got a big grant and we got the nice shoes. No, we had nothing. But we believed in the concept of community. We thought if we can literally walk to the next community, and we do a collection, they will help us get to the next one after that. Wow. They will let us stay in their house. They will feed us. They will let us stay in the church floor, in the community centers. That's how I actually got to be at Hope for the first time. I got there on foot on my march to Washington, D.C.
That's amazing.
At one point we had the KKK protest us, literally with huge signs that said, "Stop the Latin invasion," and chanting white power with the robe and the pointy hat, chanting white power, all of it, right? I had a woman look me in the eye and said, I told her, she basically said a bunch of stuff, and then I just looked at her and said, look, I'm just a human being.
Yes.
I'm just human. And she was an older lady, and I said, do you have grandchildren? And she said, yes. I am sure that the dreams of your grandchildren are not very different than mine. And she said, no, you're just a criminal. You're not completely human.
Oh, wow.
To my eye. And we also had conversations with people who would change their hearts.
Hey, thank you for listening to The Lex and Tony Show. Click on the video here to see the next part of our episode. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss out.